Hello, everyone. It's Leslie Shreve here. I hope everyone's having a very productive day and week so far. Today, we are talking about everyone's most hated communication tool, email. And of course, it's scrolling off the screen. It's hard to keep up with. There's an excess. And so today, I want to talk with you about why having more email in your inbox means less productivity for you. And I'm going to give you some strategies for how to take control of your inbox. So, of course, when it scrolls off the screen, you know that your stress goes up and you're missing out on a whole lot of different things. So, what's happening when things scroll off the screen? Why is it accumulating in the first place? Well, one of the biggest reasons is that things are not coming out of the inbox. Now, it's interesting because I see a lot of different posts on social media and I hear a lot of people talking about email all the time because it is everyone's biggest thorn in their side, for their workday. And a lot of people talk about organizing emails. So that's the biggest mistake I think people make. And professionals don't realize that email is not best managed while it's sitting in the inbox, of course, and then they want to organize it by category or maybe get it into folders on the left side of the screen. But that is not the answer. The answer is processing it. It's learning how to manage it and process it out of the inbox. Email does not need organization. What it needs is action. And it also needs a decision from you. There's a couple of roadblocks actually that stop professionals from processing email properly. And I'm going to talk about those two things today. But before we get into that, for those of you who are not familiar with who I am, I want to introduce myself and let you know why you should listen to me and why you might want to visit productiveday.com, which is the name of my company. So my name is Leslie Shreve. I'm the founder and CEO of Productive Day. And I'm the creator of a proprietary system called Taskology, the science of getting things done. I'm a workload management and productivity expert. And so efficiency and productivity and progress are the name of the game here at Productive Day. And I work with C-level leaders and executives and business owners and managers and professionals and teams on their efficiency and productivity in the corporate world. So what I help my clients do is gain 1 to 2 hours back in their workday every day. I help them increase their efficiency and productivity by up to 300% in as little as 4 weeks. I help them increase their achievement, accelerate their progress, and help them enjoy more free time at home with their spouse and their kids and spending their time they really want to spend it, because I'm pretty sure they don't want to be opening up their laptop again and catching up on email. So if that's one of the situations that you're faced with, and I just talked to another client yesterday who had just finished learning Taskology, and he was talking about how he doesn't work at night or on the weekends anymore, which is great. But if that's your situation because you're trying so hard to catch up before the next day's emails roll in, then you might want to listen carefully to what I have to say. And the other reason that you might want to listen is that I've been doing this for 20 years. So I have a lot of experience watching people struggle with email and then helping them fix it. So what we do here at Productive Day is get the inbox down to 0, and not just to see the pretty white space. It's so you've seen everything, you've made a decision on everything, and you've moved it all to better locations of either reference or action, or it's gone, archived or deleted. And when we have the Taskology task list, which of course is the beginning stage of learning Taskology, I teach my clients how to get emails that contain tasks and follow-ups onto the Taskology task list, but without using the flag. And we'll talk about the flag today too. So what are you going to do with your email inbox that has hundreds, maybe thousands of emails in it right now? So first, you need to understand what I said before, and let's go into a little bit more depth. Email is not best managed while it's still sitting in the inbox, okay? And organizing it into folders on the left is not going to help you. That is not going to serve you, because I have found a lot of folders in the past where my clients had come to me, we just started working together, and we find these folders on the left for to do or action or follow up or to read, all kinds of different things, working on, in progress, you name it, I've seen it, it's over there on the left side of the screen. But you never want to file away action emails over there on the left side of the screen, because it's just going to give you one more place to look and or overlook, because that becomes the problem, that you forget to look over there. The other problem is, of course, they're just accumulating in that folder. They're not helping you with what you need to do. you have to reread those emails again. It's actually no better than the flag, because that's one of the biggest issues with the email flag, as well as marking things as unread so they stay bold in the inbox. I mean, there's all kinds of things that folks are using to try to keep up, to really try hard to know which ones to come back to and which ones to skip over. And then the ones that really should be deleted or filed elsewhere, and there's a lot of different places where that information can go, they're still sitting in the inbox. And that is a really big problem, because what that's doing is clogging up your progress. It's making it so that you're having trouble trudging through these emails again to find the ones that you really do need to work on. So the two biggest roadblocks to managing email and processing it properly, number one is decision making. So one of the biggest challenges that I find is that folks are having trouble making decisions about their email. And the biggest question I get, of course, is, Leslie, what do I do with this? That's sort of a combo platter between decision making and where do I put it, which is problem number two. So decision making and having a place to put things are the roadblocks to processing email. So when you don't have systems and processes in place to take care of email, it's going to just sit in the inbox because you just don't know where to put it or what to do with it. And what that dials back to is, what kinds of systems are you using right now? Actually, every professional has access to all the systems they need in order to process email properly. You do not need some special app or fancy software or anything like that. Your email needs you. It doesn't need AI. It needs your brain. It needs your decision making, and you've got that dialed. So the other half are those systems. So there are a lot of different reference systems in your workday. You might save an email in the hard drive, which you can do. Most people just save the attachments, though. You could save a much needed attachment that you need for future reference. You could save that in the hard drive. You could print something and file it if you have to have a paper copy of something. There's contact information that needs to go into contacts. And then you have other information that might need to go in other systems that you maintain. The biggest one, though, is action. So an email that brings you a task or a follow-up, you need some kind of a task list to help you manage those, but also everything else that you're managing in your workday. It can't just be one way to manage active emails and then a couple other ways to manage all the other tasks in your day. That's where you get a fragmented approach to task management, which is another huge problem in the workday right now. So in Taskology, of course, we teach how to set up the Taskology task list in Outlook, because that's our platform. And I change all the screens. So it's not what you see right now with either the to-do list or the task list. So we simplify it, and I make sure that my clients understand the most critical elements to use in the task list. But once all that is set up, because it's easy to do, then you can move your emails over there with tasks and follow-ups, reminders, ideas, things you delegate to others. There's all kinds of ways, all kinds of different kinds of tasks. And there's a couple of ways you can get it over there. But that's one of the areas that people don't know. Where am I going to put this? What am I going to do with it? And if there's that roadblock there, then it sits in the inbox, and there it stays, and there it stagnates, or it could be forgotten completely. And that's one of the biggest problems there is that things are being missed, lost, or forgotten. So when it comes to figuring out what kind of systems you have, you want to make sure that you understand, like, what is the place where you're going to store electronic documents, just as an example. Are you using your hard drive? Are you using Dropbox, something else in the cloud? Are you using your desktop? These are all the questions that you want to answer, because you really want one home base for all your electronic documents, whether you create them or you're receiving them from somewhere else and you need a place to save them. It can't just be the black hole where you start throwing things, and then by the time you need to go look for something, you have no idea how to find it. That can happen in your, what I call the e-document library, which is the hard drive. It can also happen in paper files when you're using a file drawer, either in your desk or in a file cabinet. If you're not quite sure what's in there and it's not categorized properly, then it's really going to be hard to find something later if you just chuck something in there. Contacts is another one, because people deal with business cards, which are still floating around out there. If you can get something directly into your contact system, that's fantastic, either by manually typing it or doing something on your phone, so that it's just phone to phone, which makes things easier. And then we don't have to hand out business cards anymore. But if you are trying to keep track of contacts, you might have contacts in Outlook or contacts in another system that you're using, or a CRM. But you got to make sure you pick a home base for that too, because you don't want to be using 2, 3, 4 different systems for where your contacts are going to be stored. So these are some of the reference bits of information that do come in to email. On top of that, you also have opportunities. You have events, social events, business events. You have places to go, conferences. There's all kinds of opportunities. There's also opportunities where someone might want to introduce you to someone else. There's all these kinds of communication, like questions, and people want to ask you things. They want a response for something. And if you're slow to respond, it's because something scrolled off the screen and you might have lost track of it. We don't want to lose track of those kinds of things. So, what you want to do is focus on your systems. Make sure that you are establishing a place that you trust and can rely on, where you can store your information. And when it comes to tasks on the task list, and if you are using multiple, a variety of different tools and tips and tactics and hacks and apps and software, that's going to get you into trouble. And so I'm going to talk at the end about something you can do to fix that situation. But you really do need a strong platform for task management, because email management is a combination of two things: task management and information management. Those things are coming into your email all the time, every single day, every minute of every day. So while we call it email management, what you're really doing is managing tasks and information. And if you don't have solid systems for both of those things, tasks and information, this is where you're getting backed into a corner and all your emails are building up and they're scrolling off the screen. So let's talk about the flag for a minute, because that's another mistake that people make, even though they're left with nothing else. So it's not truly a mistake. It's not your fault. It's because you don't know what else to do. And I understand that. You might also be marking things as unread, so they're bold in the inbox. Or maybe you even send yourself an email again, so it comes in at the top of the inbox. But then you have it twice, which is a whole nother problem. Some people print emails and put them on their desk. That can also build up and get confusing and chaotic, because now it's hard to find it on your desk. So let's just focus on the flag, because that's the most popular. The issue with the flag, of course, is that it doesn't serve you in any way except to tell you, hey, come back and look at me. It's just telling you, revisit me again, because there was something important in here. The problem is, it doesn't tell you what was important. So you have to spend time reading it again, even if that's only 10 seconds or 20 seconds. All these little bits of time in your day add up, and they steal time from you that you could otherwise be spending productively, or maybe spending more personal time at home and enjoying that. So when you flag something and you come back to it, and you might flag 10, 20, 30 different emails, and then you come back to them multiple times, you're going back to it to not only review it again or reread it, but now you've got to think through it all over again. And you might be asking yourself a lot of different questions, like, okay, what was this about? Oh, yeah, that's right. I need to get with Joe about that, but Joe's not here today. Okay, so I guess I'll skip this and go to the next email. Or maybe you're looking at it and it's a really long email and it's just too deep for you to get into right now. So you skip that. I had a client tell me recently that back before they learned taskology, that they would do this exact process where, and I'm sure you have been through this too, where you just go through your emails and you're trying to knock out the easy ones. You're skipping the hard ones, or you're skipping the ones that you don't think you have time for. And this is why they're scrolling off the screen. And so when you revisit a flag, you're asking yourself a lot of questions. Can I do this right now? Is it easy? Is it short? Do I need someone else for this? Do I feel like doing this today? What other information do I need in order to answer this person's question? So that may be a true and actual task where you can't actually reply yet. You have to go get some information first, and that is a task. And that's where this kind of thing would be processed out of the inbox and put on the Taskology task list, or whatever list you're using. And hopefully it's central, digital, and complete, because it really can't just be a partial list like on a legal pad or in a planner, because that's not going to contain everything. You want to really centralize it so you have a complete inventory of everything that's on your plate right now in order to properly plan and prioritize it. So once you get it over there, then you can wrap a plan around it, and you know that you can get that information and then eventually reply to that person, and it doesn't have to stay in the inbox. So the flag doesn't help you with any kind of planning. It's not helping you with prioritizing, because you have to look at these all over again. And it's not saving you any time. It's actually costing you a lot of time, sometimes double the time that you need to spend, and sometimes triple or quadruple, because it depends on how many emails that you have flagged. And it depends on how many times you have to come back to them before you actually do something with them. Okay. So let's talk about So you know about the two roadblocks. We need to alleviate the decision-making challenges and also the system challenges. You really have to have trusted, reliable systems in your workday, including a task list that centralizes everything you need to do. Again, a partial list is not going to serve you. A legal pad or post-it notes, a steno pad, a notebook, none of those are going to serve you because they are not the central area where everything can go. It is not the common denominator and it cannot be all inclusive. So I'll get back to that in just a few minutes. But let's talk about the folders on the left too, because that's another way that you can actually take control of your inbox. And again, not just to organize it, but this is one of the essentials. So it is a part of the system where you get action out, you get reference information in the hard drive or maybe in contacts or wherever these other specific systems are that you do want to use, which is good. But then there is a selection of emails that you would want to put in email folders on the left side of the screen. And yes, they will be categorized and organized, but they are only reference. So it's a library of sorts, and you don't want to over organize this. So you do not want to set up a folder for every person that's ever sent you an email. Please don't do that. You're going to end up with hundreds. Do not set up one for every single kind of email you get, because then you're over organizing, because a lot of emails really don't need a specific folder. Now, if you're working on hot projects or you've got some jobs you're working on, maybe you're in commercial real estate, you've got properties, maybe you're an attorney and you've got to have clients. Of course, clients is a popular one for a lot of different businesses. But there's a lot of specific folders that you'll need for your specific industry. But on top of that, you can also think of this like as it's in a company. So big umbrellas, please do not be so specific with your email folders right out of the gate. And also avoid this other issue. Do not try to think of a million different email folders that you think you might need. Okay. Never set up an email folder until you see a need for one. Okay. And don't start setting up a whole bunch of subfolders if you haven't even put a bunch in a main folder. Like, wait until the number of emails in a main folder starts to accumulate a little bit, maybe 10 or 15 emails, and then go look for themes. Look for a way to categorize it. Try not to think of everything under the sun before you ever need it, because what I find with my clients a lot is that they've set up dozens of folders that they never used and they're empty. So all that does is confuse the situation, because now they're trying to go figure out where they put something, but they're sort of, they have to sift through all these email folders they set up, and a lot of them are empty, but they've got to trip over them anyway to try to find the one that they're really looking for. It's also it makes it easy to forget what they called things, because they have so many to look at. They're not going to zero in on it very quickly because there's too many to look at. And then when most of them are empty, it's not really serving them. So don't fall into that trap. Try not to set up anything until you see a need for it. Then you can set up a folder. So think big, 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 big categories: departments in a company, admin, advertising, marketing, sales, training. There's all kinds of different ones. And then you have one for projects or jobs, clients, prospects, customers, what have you. There's a lot of different categories. They're going to be specific for you, but please, please, please start big. The other tip I'll give you is that you want to have no more than a screen view on your screen. You don't want to have to scroll past a screen view. So try to keep it to 15 or 20 email folders, which I call major category folders, because then you're getting into a situation where you're scrolling and scrolling and scrolling to try to find something or to try to file something. So when you keep those major category folders in a short list that's 20 or fewer, it's going to make it easier for you to then open up something to look at those subfolders specifically. So if you can keep it all in a screen view, you're going to be a lot more efficient. Now, a lot of people have really massive monitors and they're going to say, well, Leslie, I can fit 30 or I could fit 40 on my screen. Well, that's great, but just less is more. Okay. Less is better. So try to be as concise as you can in your major categories and do the best you can to keep it tight. Okay. So those are some strategies that you can start with. Another one would be that if you're looking at thousands of emails in your inbox and you want to start getting those out of there, and I want you to start getting those out of there because they're not serving you, just piling up in the inbox. If you've got stuff back a couple of years, be sure to set up a folder on the left side of the screen that has that identifies the years, not a folder for every year, because that's going to make it a nightmare for you to search for things. Put them together. So let's say you have emails from 2017 to today. Set up a folder for 2017 through 2022. And then move all those out of there and just leave 2023. Or you can just leave the last 3 months. Actually, that's what I do. Last 3 months always have the hot stuff in it. So go, close to the end of 2022, move everything out of there. It's not serving you. Now you can go back through a few more in 2022 if you think there might be some hot stuff that you missed from, say, September through December. That's fine. You can always go back and look and see if you can capture action items that you might have missed or maybe forgotten. But really, the most recent 3 months is what you want to focus on, and everything else needs to come out of the inbox. It is not serving you there. It is older stuff. And what you really want to do is start getting your inbox to zero. And like I said before, it's not just to see the pretty white space, because we all know that's going to change. More is always coming in, right? It's not always going to stay empty, but I teach my clients how to keep it empty. And then they get addicted to the white space. Then they love that feeling of peace and calm, that they've got everything under control, because every bit of information that came in, they know where it is. And every task that came in, they know it's on the task list. So they have this incredible sense of confidence and clarity because they know where everything is. And when they need it, they can find it in an instant. And that, my friends, is efficient and very, very valuable for their productivity. And then they can actually spend their time more productively on actually doing their work and using their expertise and doing what they do best, because that's what makes them happy. And then their stress goes down. So get all those emails out of the inbox, because having them pile up does not help you in any way. And then you're going to want to start processing the more recent emails out of the inbox and into places where they are best managed. And you already have systems at your fingertips that are meant for storing those kinds of information. You've got contacts for contacts. You've got the hard drive for your e-documents. You've got file cabinets for your paper files. You've got your calendar for events and opportunities. You've got all kinds of things at your fingertips that you can use. You just have to get into using them. And then you really need a central task list that's digital and not the task app on your phone, because that's not going to be all inclusive either. That's no better than a legal pad. It's just a digital version of a legal pad, but you're leaving out all kinds of other sources of tasks. So those are my tips for you today from Taskology strategies you can really use to get you started in the right direction. And I also want to put out there that when I mentioned earlier, talking about task management, I have a workshop coming up. It's a free Productive Day workshop coming up starting Monday, January 23rd at noon. And I'm going live every day for 9 days, straight through the weekend. So there's a lot of great information I'm going to be sharing. And this is all about task management. So if you are tired of worrying about where all of your tasks are coming from and keeping up with them, and it's hard to juggle them and plan them and prioritize them, and sometimes things are slipping through the cracks, you're going to want to come over and join us. It's called Best Workday, Best Life. And again, it starts Monday, January 23rd. You can come on over to productiveday.com and register there. And of course, you can look me up all over social media, because we've got posts going everywhere for this workshop. So you can find one of those posts as well and click the link, and that'll bring you over to productiveday.com. So this workshop is going to be able to give you all of the foundation of how you can get a grip on everything that's on your plate. I'm going to talk about planning and prioritizing and all the characteristics that you need to know about a task, the ones that people aren't talking about. And I'll give you the nitty gritty on all of it. And it's even better if you have Microsoft Outlook, because that is our foundation for Taskology. So come on over to Productive Day and check that out. And then what I need you to know is that once you have a solid task management foundation, you've got a task list that really serves you, this is when email management gets easier. And that is really key, because in our system, email is taught last. And that's because you have to have all those other systems set up first before you can even process email out of the inbox. So that's one of the things that I think is troubling everybody, is that they're trying to do email first without all these other systems. And that is a really important distinction to remember. You have to have all your other systems set up first, and then you can knock email right out of the park. It'll be no problem at all. So again, come on over to productiveday.com. Join us in the workshop on Monday. I hope these email strategies help you today. And for now, that is all. This is Leslie Shreve signing off. I wish you a very productive day. Bye, everyone.